Good. We'll call to order this meeting of the Centerville Town Council. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Everybody rise. Stay standing for a moment of silence. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We will begin with a review of minutes from past meetings. November 18th, 2021 meeting minutes. Does anybody have any changes or comments or a motion to adopt those minutes?
I make a motion to adopt the minutes.
Second.
Motion second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Eric, did you second?
Jeff did.
Jeff. Yes, ma'am.
Move into a closed session statement. The Town Council met in closed session on Thursday, December 2nd, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. at the Liberty Building, 107 North Liberty Street, second floor meeting room to discuss personnel, land acquisition, and consult with council in accordance with the Maryland Open Meetings Act. 5 members of the Town Council voted to close the session. The authority to close the session is found in Section 3-305 of the General Provisions article. The Town Council discussed the following topics: personnel, discussed candidates for boards and commissions; land acquisition, discussed the acquisition of land; consult with counsel. We discussed legal counsel researching options for economic development. No actions were taken. The following members and staff were present: Stephen K. Klein, President; Jeffrey D. Keel, Vice President; Shelby C. Anania, Eric B. Johnson Jr., and Ashley H. Kaiser, members; Charles Chip Kugel, Acting Town Manager; Sharon Van Emberg, Town Attorney; and Carolyn Brinkley, Town Clerk. The meeting adjourned at 6:58 p.m. Now switch to a citizens forum. Citizens are requested to keep their comments to 3 minutes. No one has signed up, I assume.
I didn't get one out there.
Okay, that's quite all right. The records show that nobody from the public came to submit comments at this time, and we'll move into appearances, which I think in this case will be the review of the preliminary engineering report. David Nixon, P.E. Whitman, Requard and Associates. You want to move to that? Please come on up. Make sure you're speaking into a microphone, and welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm David Nixon. I'm a process engineer with Whitman, Requard and Associates. And I've been working with the town for the past approximately 4 years, developing a plan to expand the wastewater treatment plant capacity. Currently have a discharge permit and a design on your existing treatment plant for 542,000 gallons per day of treatment and discharge. You discharge to a stream, and you can also discharge to a spray irrigation fields. In the discharge permit is a requirement that when the average flows for the past 3 years into the treatment plant exceed 80% of the 542,000 gallons per day, that the town enter a capacity management plan with MDE to describe how the town is going to accommodate the flows as they approach the design capacity and the discharge capacity. And so that's what I've been working on, looking at different alternatives to expand the treatment process, looking at the entire treatment process from the influent, the treatment, pumping to irrigation fields, expanding irrigation fields. And out of those alternatives that we evaluated, expanding the existing treatment plant in the similar type of treatment process is the best or our suggested way to address the increase that's needed. So you reuse all the existing tankage that's there for the treatment process, It's called a sequencing batch reactor, and we'd add more tankage on that. Several other parts of the treatment process will also have to be expanded to handle the increase in flows and to be able to treat the increased influent flows. And also with the discharge, you need to improve the treatment process. Maryland has capped nitrogen and phosphorus discharges to the streams, so you would need to increase the removal of nitrogen and phosphorus, the nutrients, with the new process as well. And the upgrade included that. We did look at two different upgrades, both to 750,000 gallons per day, as well as up to 1 million gallons per day. The flows have increased steadily. They fluctuate over time, but you can see a certain trend both with the population and with the flow that, if that continues on, which is certainly what would be desired, that 750,000 gallons per day is going to quickly not be sufficient. And we developed costs for both of those options, option A and option B. And those are both in the PER. And obviously the 1 million gallons per day costs more, but to do a expansion now to 750,000 gallons and then later to 1 million gallons per day is certainly going to cost more than what the 1 million gallons per day costs today. So expanding to 750,000 gallons per day certainly gains you several years of increases, but it's not the end all be all. So again, those are the two options. Again, recommending to expand to 1 million gallons per day of treatment process. Currently, past 3 years, you've averaged 450,000 gallons per day, which is 83% of your permit. So you already have a significant amount of flow today. If you're considering any expansion, any building, any new lots, all contributes flow. So,
Do you
have any
know
questions?
Do you know when the last time the plant was expanded and from what? So 5?
It was expanded in 2003. It was completed. I believe it was at 450,000 gallons per day before, and increased to 542,000. So that's been already 18 years since the last expansion. And it was more of a nominal increase in the treatment flow at that time, but it was an all-new treatment process. The sequencing batch reactor, like I say, is 18 years old, and it's in good shape. But as things get old, they need a lot more repair and maintenance. But it's still best to reuse that concrete in those facilities and really just add on to them. That's the best use.
So in your sense, David, even if let's say we didn't want to grow at all, and
Yep.
we didn't want to expand at all,
Yep.
there's still going to be, what you're saying, it sounds like what I'm hearing, is there's still going to be costs associated with the upkeep of even 525,000 gallons a day.
Absolutely,
Do
absolutely.
you have any sense of what those costs might be over time? That just sort of keeping the plan up to snuff. Could you?
It'd be hard to
say.
I mean, it's certainly going to increase, just like a car. I mean, once you get 18, 20 years old for a car, it's starting to need everything, not just oil changes.
And my understanding is we have equipment in there with various parts that are no longer manufactured. And so we're getting on eBay or whatever, and God forbid we don't win the highest bid, or somebody's not selling it. So I know that's a concern that I have.
And that's a very good point. And that goes to electronics and control systems. They certainly age a whole lot faster. A lot of times that we'll specify new equipment and it's already outdated by the time the project gets built 4 years later. So to have something that's 18 years old, And you're not alone. I mean, that system was installed in these SBRs, these sequencing batch reactors. I visited 3 or 4 of them, and they're in the exact same place. That their controllers just don't have replacement parts. So that's certainly another consideration. That's in the expansion, either option A or option B. You'd expand the control system the same way. So it's the same cost for that component. It's that flexible.
So if we did the lower of the 2 options, you think we'd be back to expand again
Yes.
to the million, and then
Yeah. There's no reason to believe that the
With
population
how
will
many
continue.
years would it take to get there?
Correct. Yeah, that's the guess. Would it take 10 years, 15 years, 20 years?
Don't know.
Don't know. But you certainly
on
would
the
gain
development,
yourself some time with the 750,000 gallons per day, but
then the eventual cost to go from 750 to a million would be like God only knows then, but if it was now, it would be another 18 million again. So I guess the smart money is on the bigger expansion now.
Go to the million.
And I gotta say, the report itself, I gotta say, was exceptionally well done and detailed. And I did actually read the whole thing. It took me several days, but I did, and at least 10% of it made sense. I'm kidding. But I have to say, just to echo what Ashley was saying, if we can answer the basic question of whether the capacity that we think we're going to need 10 to 15 years out, and that's what was indicated in the plan. In fact, I think it was on page 17, it talks about that, that if we're going to probably go that direction and our comprehensive planning efforts are pointing in that same direction and we're all sort of the same mindset, then I got to tell you, that's where I would lean. And I know the price tag that I saw, as I'm sure you all saw for both, makes you swallow hard. That being said, I think we're at a very helpful point in time, and I don't know if you can speak to this if you work with other municipalities who are gearing up for infrastructure dollars that may be available for this very type of thing. But I would like to believe that there are options out there, for us to be able to finance something like this. But I sense a great amount of urgency in doing something and getting the ball rolling. I don't get the impression this is a project that we should consider starting. It is overdue, dare I say, based on the age of some of our equipment. And just I have some additional questions that I'll have whenever you're ready, but just about the security and sort of protection of that equipment. But anyway.
What is your sense of, and you may not know anything, you might not follow this professionally, but are there other municipalities where MDE has said you cannot discharge to the creek any further? And do you feel like that's coming potentially, especially with the change in administrations, where you can't, we can't discharge to the creek at all? You might not want to venture a guess on that.
No, well, I would. I mean, I don't think that MDE is going to rescind any discharge permits. MDE is certainly going to ask why you need it, and you will certainly need to justify why you need the stream discharge in addition to the spray irrigation. But no, I don't see them becoming hardline on existing permits and existing nutrient loadings that are already out.
Okay. And in other municipalities, I mean, there's $14 billion in the infrastructure bill for Clean Water State Revolving Fund dollars beyond appropriated money. So there is a big slug of money coming, a huge slug of money. In your experience, what percentage roughly are municipalities getting covered by state monies or federal monies?
That does vary quite a bit with what the upgrade is specifically. So I mean, we could go through that process, but it varies from anywhere from 20% to 80%. MDE, the state covering, but it's very
specific.
specific.
80%, we'd probably vote tonight. But if
I still think we need to explore outside of MDE too, but
Yes.
is encouraging that MDE does cover. I do think we should be concerned, and maybe you're right, you know more about wastewater than I do, but we should be concerned about MDE changing the rules. Like you said, Steve, with a changing administration, I mean, everyone's going to be new there, no matter who wins. So things could really change overnight in that sense.
Yep. Anybody else?
Well, I guess just to go back to the 80%, you know, your current 3-year average flow is above the 80%, and that is something that MDE has, you know, that's in your discharge permit, that you need to have a plan for what you're going to do to be able to address the increasing flows, so.
What is the time, I'm sorry, what is the time frame on our permit? When is the permit up for renewal? Do you know that? Is it a national permit?
The permit's 5-year, on a 5-year renewal cycle. It just renewed the stream discharge, not the surface water discharge at the farm. It's on a 5-year, but it's in the renewal process now. We haven't gotten a renewed one. That's the part.
Farm
Is in renewal process now. So the stream discharge just finished up. One thing you need to remember, they may not take the stream discharge away from you, but what they are going to do at some point is make the limitations so stringent that you may not be able to meet them. And I do know there's other towns that, the town of Berlin, for one, they don't have a stream discharge anymore. Everything they have is spray irrigation. Some of it's in trees, you know, pine trees and stuff on a tree farm. Some of it is regular agriculture. But yeah, the MDE doesn't want the black eye of saying that we're going to take your permit away, but they'll make it very tight. And it's not just MDE. A lot of that is driven by the Chesapeake Bay and the TMDLs for the bay and its tributaries. So.
In the PER, we note that we're moving from BNR to ENR. You can also, would that help with that? Because the de-notification is going to be at an enhanced level base.
Correct. The ENR, right now, the way the plant's designed, it's designed for BNR. The ENR is an upgrade from that, which MD requires. New plants upgrades go to the enhanced nutrient removal. So all that does is, as your flow goes up, it's not that your limits go down, but your yearly average may be able to stay the same because you're treating more gallons. It's not like it makes it all go away by any means at all.
So let me ask you a theoretical, Kip. If stream discharge went away, even with current capacity, could the current spray field cover that for the year?
No. We have.
It would be a catastrophe, right? I mean, that.
Yes, very much so. We have enough trouble on, especially on wet years, trying to get
To discharge, yeah.
to get all the discharge. I mean, there's several times through the summer that we have to call MDE and give them the notice that our pond level is within the 2 foot of freeboard. I mean, that's a requirement of the permit. We have to let them know when it gets there. We've just, knock on wood, in almost 9 years I've been here, we may call them 1 week and say we're there, and like a week and a half later, we've been able to maintain and get it back down out of that freeboard. But it's not comfortable for operators and superintendents to see that level in the pond, you know, especially when you're getting into late July, August, and September. Those are the months that are normally dry enough that you can just, you know, dump water everywhere. So it doesn't always happen that way. The other thing is, if we get a wet spring, because we have to stop stream discharge at April 1st and go to the farm with it. Well, if you get a wet spring and you're dumping 2 months of stuff in the pond and you haven't been able to spray irrigate to get rid of the discharge, you're full again, and then you fight it all the way to the end of summer. And sometimes you luck out. This year I have, for whatever reason, things worked out much better. This is only the second time since I've been here when we switched to stream discharge that our pond was down in the lower quarter of the pond. So, but again, that's only the second time in almost 9 years.
Is there a way we can find out what kind of change in capacity a bubbler to help with evaporation?
It's going to be very minimal. I'll put it that way. I'm not saying it won't help, and it's definitely worth the investment, but it's not going to. You're to the point now that the surface area of the pond, to try and work on some evaporation with it, the surface area of the pond is just not large enough now that we're getting up into the higher flows of the plant.
But the bubbler fountain is in the budget for
It's under irrigation improvements, yes.
Any other questions, Eric?
So, Pip, I'm glad you stepped up. If you don't mind taking one of those and then passing one down. I had prepared just some questions and comments. These are nothing to be antsy about. In fact, one is really for us as a council to consider. And in light of you all not really seeing this until today, this is stuff that can clearly be answered, as we move into next year. But the first one that you see on here, and if anybody in the audience is wondering what I'm looking at, there's a couple copies out there on the table. So I kind of alluded to this earlier. If we continue to grow at our current pace, this is what's on page 17, that expansion that is mentioned as being within 10 to 15 years. My question is, I would like to see us answer as we continue in the comprehensive planning process. Does that marry up with where we're headed, where we as a council are strategically? And it seems like that's the case. So that's not necessarily something that I think should even be attempted to be answered tonight, unless we know we're far apart in that process. So I would just...
We did rough calculations off of the existing comprehensive plan. So if that comprehensive plan, which, correct me if I'm wrong, that looks at a 20-year span. If you were to build out in that 20-year span, the 1 million gallons may just cover it.
Okay. So that helps.
Not the 750 wouldn't. There would be a shortfall.
And then my other point in that first item was just, as I put in my memo here, I believe we are at a critical juncture in our trajectory. And so I think as a council, we need to weigh in officially on our growth strategies. I hope we're all trying to participate in the comprehensive plan process. I'm going to start to go to those meetings to at least listen. And as the economic development liaison, I want to make sure that as Paige and I consult and work on projects that we're all in sync with that. And I think, speaking to folks in the room and at home, I really hope folks will get involved because a lot of people feel strongly about our future. And so now's the time to go on record with that. The second point that you'll see is regarding the electrical systems. My question, and Kip, you may know this, and again, if we can't answer it tonight, that's fine. Is the facility included in Delmarva Power's list of critical infrastructure when there are power outages? Is that something that you happen to know?
I don't know that. I know wastewater treatment plants and water treatment plants were all supposed to be in that plan. Whether we actually are or not, because we have backup generators that may move us further down on their critical list.
Okay. And that makes sense. I know with my background, there's hospitals and lots of other things that are on that list above. And that was, so page 23 is what I'm referencing right now. I'm curious, the document asserts that the generator that we have should be sufficient for this recommended A or B option. Right. I'm just curious, has that generator had to be used in the past? Have we had outages where that has?
Yeah.
And we've not had uninterrupted operations based on the generators? So it's been reliable, I guess is my question.
The generator's been reliable, yes, but due to the age of it, it seems like every year there's a few more components that have to be replaced that are outside of routine maintenance. As David had said before, when you're talking about electronic controls these days, computer systems, by the time you buy it off the shelf, it's already outdated. So that's kind of the problem that we're having. There are components to it that at least it's a generator from a reputable company, and they see that and they know it. So they make retrofits to, when you have to replace this part of it, the new one's not gonna be the same thing. It's gonna be the new and improved one. Of course, the price is higher.
Exactly. And so what I'm hearing is the capacity is sufficient, but we have a piece of equipment that, to the extent that there's some, emergency management funding or, infrastructure dollars that could,
And it's, and the other thing, it is an 18-year-old generator too, so, yep.
that kind of follows into my fourth point, which I'll get to in a minute. The third point is regarding page 51, and this kind of talks about the lab building, the capacity, all of that, and that just got me wondering, and I know we all probably share this view. You're not going to be able to answer this tonight, I know, but what are the approximate annual operating costs for the current WTP? Staffing, maintenance, utility consumption, and how much would it increase if we go with the Cadillac model option B? So my assumption is there may be some efficiencies gained in equipment that is more efficient in terms of its electrical consumption. But I know, I'm curious, if we approve this, are we looking at, we need to add another 2.0 FTEs in Public Works to maintain this additional space? So again, you may not be able to answer that tonight. It's just something that I'm interested in knowing over time as we.
I can work with Karen and get you the numbers that were, that we deal with year to year. I'm sorry, I don't have it in the top of my head.
No, and I
As far as
promise you, I did not expect that tonight, and I appreciate your indulgence. The last point I have on here in option 4 is just, when we look at the two models, I think it's a good investment. I think we're going to be able to get, federal infrastructure dollars and potentially other funding at the state level, certain grants, you name it, to whittle this down. But I think this really does drive home a point that I had made previously, and that I'm hoping, Mr. President, you might entertain a motion from me tonight on this. I had a conversation with our acting town manager, Chip, yesterday, and just talked briefly about the feasibility of us moving toward having maybe a 20-year capital investment plan that sort of maps out these things. So if we have a generator that's 18 years old and it has a lifetime of 25 years, then we know that 7 years from now that's on the list. And so I got the impression that it would be realistic for the town staff to start working on that and maybe have something, correct me if I'm wrong, Chip, by maybe the middle of next year. So this isn't a drop everything, we're getting ready to go in the budget process, but I think it's a timely conversation. I think our electorate is really asking us to start looking a little further out. And yes, the cone of uncertainty is broad the further out we go. But I know when I had a chance to tour some of our infrastructure, and Kip, you were great. You would be able to look at one little thing on a piece of equipment and say, yeah, that has a 20-year, shelf life. And so if you are up for it tonight and this council is okay with it, I would like to formalize the process of starting that capital investment planning if you
We
would
could probably do
entertain.
that by consensus rather than a motion,
Okay.
just consent.
It's fine by me.
Yeah, I think it makes sense, and I'll say too, when I toured the facilities, I mean, Kip knows those systems inside and out, and there is a computer system in there that thinks is 21 years ago, that I'm telling you, if I worked at Public Works, I would be driven insane. And, and so just the systems need to be updated, just far and away, all of them need updates.
Any other questions? David, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
if I may, the PER, as presented, will start the process with the state for us to seek funding. The sooner we can get this to the state, the better off we are. Sharon, correct me if I'm wrong, but we might be able to do this by consensus or motion tonight to send this on to the state for review by MDE, or we can formalize it for the next session. But I think the sooner we put this process together, the sooner we can start looking for money, the sooner the state sees that we have a plan coming forward.
I'm comfortable with making it, consenting tonight to doing that. Unless we think it could change materially.
I've enumerated for some of you that I've had a chance to talk to you, some of the issues brought up in here, and I think there's an imperative of time.
Yeah.
Is the report available to the public?
I will double check. I don't think we've put it out yet. No, we haven't released it.
Would it be difficult to have the report on the website? I think we ought to do that.
Okay.
Are we going to entertain a planning commission nominee under old business?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Mitchell Delaney to the Planning Commission.
Second?
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, that motion carries. Mitchell will be appointed to the planning commission. I think we're going to work to get him sworn in advance of the next planning commission meeting. And we'll just note that that motion should appoint him to the regular seat on the planning commission. Moving into new business, the Department of Public Works Administrative Assistant. Chip, I assume that's you?
Yes, sir. You have in your packets a memorandum, and what we're seeking is an administrative assistant to Kip Matthews in the Public Works. He has had a number of challenges in meeting the demands of the position full-time, and as we go forward, and currently are seeing with the PER, that we need him to have time to do critical review of documents with MDE and the interchange between state and county levels. He currently can't do that. He cannot delegate certain things down. Both Jim and Connolly are not just supervisors, they're working staff members, leaving them little time to do things such as training. So it puts an imperative on Kip to get these things done. And you've seen in the last few sessions things like trying to procure a trailer and then having to make follow-up calls to get costs and new quotes and things of that nature that I think are more befitting an assistant to him to help with mitigating some of the lower level details that will help them be more efficient, will benefit the town in the long run. We currently have in the existing budget room for that, for covering the salary for the remainder of the fiscal year, and we are looking for the council to support that going forward in the coming fiscal years. And we would propose a motion, I make a motion to approve the, whoops, I think that's what you guys say.
I have a question.
That was good, though.
A quick question.
Sure.
Just Kip, do you think this would be, like, it would lighten the load for you? It would be valuable? Okay. I just want to make sure that we're approving something that Kip actually finds valuable.
And at the risk of saying or suggesting that you are somehow failing, I'm going to say what I'm about to say, so I'll qualify it. I have grave concerns about compliance. Again, not to suggest that you're not doing your job. I think you're killing yourself to do so. But I think not only does it free it up, but it allows sort of the right sized personality to focus on compliance things that are, administrative and paperwork, that kind of stuff, and allows you to lead the team and to, strategically manage our public works and infrastructure. So it has my support, just to comment.
Is there a motion?
I'd like to make a motion. Oh, shoot.
Second.
I didn't.
He's got to make it.
Oh, I thought he made it.
Can I?
Oh, I thought he made it. I thought he made the motion. Didn't he say that?
See, I was so for it that I don't have it
thought
in
he
front
said
of me, 'cause I've moved on to other things. I want to do it right. I'd like to make a motion that we approve a full-time administrative assistant position, not two positions, but the category administrative assistant number 2, for the Department of Public Works beginning January 2022.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any conversation? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. There you go, Kip. Are we discussing the YMCA PWA? Or is that
No.
off the agenda for tonight?
Unless you want, I don't know if you want to give an update or anything, but,
We're still trying to figure out a couple of the
yeah, you'll have to go up there.
We are working on it, but it's not quite finalized for your review yet. We're working on the Public Works Agreement, as well as there was a part of Green Street Extended that's supposed to be deeded to the town, and it's referenced in the PWA, and we're trying to figure out some of the details for that.
Thank you. Any questions? I know we all look forward to seeing that, so thank you.
Yes.
Any correspondence this week? All right. We'll move to reports of boards and commissions. Maryland Municipal League.
I've reached out to them to ask for a conversation about their legislative strategy, but have not heard back. I know they are short-staffed over there and hiring a lot of people right now, but I'm hoping to hear back from them soon.
Great. Council of Governments.
We had a meeting I can't remember what date it was now. But anyway, we had one in,
November.
yep, November 10th, wasn't it? Yes. A lot of people doing a lot of things with the money. And we actually got called out by another town, water and sewer bills. So I'm going to actually call him and talk to him and see what we can do, see what information he can give me of how we can lighten our load with water and sewer bills.
Curious to see how he adds
Yeah.
2 and 2 and gets 10.
Yes, yes, I am too.
Good.
Queenstown was doing a whole bunch of work. They were redoing the wharf and a bunch of other stuff. And that's pretty much it.
Park Advisory Board?
Can I say
I'm
something
sorry,
really
I'm
quick? No,
sorry.
I'm sorry, just to add on. The town of Centerville will actually be hosting January's Council of Governments meeting, so everyone is welcome to attend. I don't know exactly where it'll be yet, but.
Thank you. Park Advisory Board?
Yes, so a couple announcements from the Parks Board. First, just a big thank you to all the Parks Boards and the volunteers who came out and decorated the town square. It looks phenomenal. And all the Girl Scout troops who came out and decorated the Christmas trees on Lawyers Row. It's like the best year ever. I mean, it looks fabulous. I know all of you have seen it. And I have yesterday we had the Parks meeting and they voted on who, won the best trees. They do that every year. So I have those to announce. Third place is Girl Scout Troop 101 and 1065. Second place, Girl Scout Troop 112. And first place is Girl Scout Troop 446. So just wanted to thank them for coming out with the Christmas spirit like they do every year, and for Rich Ryan, who organizes all of them every single year. It's just pretty seamless now, and without him and all the Girl Scouts, we'd have a little less Christmas cheer. So thanks to the Girl Scouts and Parks Advisory Board.
Economic Development.
So I have two quick items. I have in my hands, dated today's date, the November 2021 Economic Development Activity Report that our Economic Development Manager, Paige Tillman, has submitted. Just want to applaud her publicly. A lot of great data in there. Paige, if you don't mind forwarding that on to everybody else, I think they would benefit from seeing this. A lot of good demographic profile information, some trending that we're seeing in employment. Just really good data, and then some drill down on occupational specific trends and kind of where we're headed. And so there was something I wanted to draw your attention to. Oh, here it is, sorry. The fastest growing occupation group in the town of Centerville, not a surprise, but just want to draw your attention to that, is healthcare support occupations. And I think that was the big point that I wanted to just note out of here, but a lot of other really good information.
Does that report say what category GTI falls in?
That's a good question.
Because I wonder if they're in that healthcare support category.
Yeah, I don't know if it drills down that far, but I think they might be considered manufacturing. Think so.
Just curious. Thank you.
It would be interesting to know how much further we can drill down. And then the second item, real quick, we did have a business owner, I won't go into specifics just because we don't know what's going to come to fruition yet, but who reached out via Facebook Messenger and asked what kind of space we had available for a business that has been in Stevensville to relocate to Centerville. So I have passed that information on to Paige, and hopefully there's a space that would be a good fit. And so we'll take good news as it comes. So, and that's all I have for economic development.
Planning Commission will be meeting December the 13th, rescheduled meeting from that Wednesday to discuss ongoing development at Carter Farm. I believe we anticipate a site plan from them. And we've prioritized at the council's insistence and also from the Planning Commission members themselves that we get these things to our Planning Commission members in advance of the meetings, other than just a day or two. It's not been a failing on the part of the town staff. I want to make that very clear. It's generally a failing on the part of the developers to not get us the stuff. So we've made it clear to the developers of Carter in specifically that if they want stuff considered, on December 13th, it's not acceptable to get us, the materials on December the 12th, right? And expect action. So That's been made clear. I've also, council members are in receipt, and I think we've agreed to send a letter to the County Planning Commission related to their zoning of the 213-301 intersection, which anybody can see, all the public can see in their ongoing comprehensive plan refresh. It is currently those 4 properties at 301 and 213 are zoned commercial, light industrial. We have agreed by consent to send the Planning Commission, the sort of County Commission. They've got a third-party consultant that's running the Planning Commission comprehensive update comment gathering. That was clear as mud. Sorry about that. So we will send them something that says, essentially, if the county is going to allow development at that intersection, they should require connection to town sewer and water, which essentially requires annexation from the town, just to make sure that we are getting the benefit of that infrastructure investment down there right outside of town. And I think the town's comprehensive plan will be updated to include those properties in a growth vision, in a comprehensive, future infill area, future annexation area, I should say. So that is all from the Planning Commission. Reported department heads. We'll start with the town manager.
And I will dovetail, Mr. President, on to your comments on the Carter Farm. I had the opportunity to tour the property with the developers and the Critical Area Commission on this past week. We did discuss some of the stuff the CAC was looking at to include the buffer management plan and the outflows from stormwater discharge. Would they know that will impact critical area? So they're going to review the plan. Very good conversation with Rebecca as regards timeliness of response from the developer on requests from the TAC, emphasizing to them that and not phone calls behind the scenes are going to move their process faster. Getting the information back to the TAC after it's been requested so that it can be forwarded on in a timely manner to the Planning Commission will keep things moving abreast of the pace they want. They've also seemed to look at, instead of meeting on the 16th, they are understanding the idea that full approval and review by the commissions and the council is not going to be till sometime probably in February. So it gives the council time to review and look at things in a thoughtful and deliberate manner before reaching a decision. That comment drew praise from the CAC members because they said that'd be good for them because then it would hit them in the spring. They get time to prepare for it, review their plans for the buffer areas and the outflow for stormwater. And so that dovetailed well and gives you time to look at it and an expectation from others that what will follow on.
CAC in this case being Critical Area Commission.
Yes.
TAC being town's
Technical Advisory
technical
Committee.
the town.
Yeah, the town's advisory, yeah. So, sorry for lack of clarity there.
No.
The other things are, I will be sending an email to all the council members to kind of look for some support for things we will be doing the second half of the fiscal year. As Eric alluded to, chief amongst that will be planning and looking at things that we can develop that will give the council more data points to make the decisions they need to make, particularly with things related to the wastewater management plan. We will also be looking at the ad for the assistant that has now been approved for KIP to come out. Within the budget, with ARPA funds, we have a program manager. So we're finishing up the ad to get that out so that we can bring that person on board to help with this planning. There will be seeking time for a cleaning training day to go through all the records that we have within the town hall now, digitize much of that so that we will be compliant with the records management things, the state and be concordant. The personnel policy manual, Crystal is finishing that up. That will be for your consideration next time. That will also result in amendments to the charter and code to update that and make it current with those things. So a lot of paperwork going to be coming your way, a lot of things that could be considered. And with that, I will turn things over to the chief.
Good evening.
Centerville Police Department will have all hands on deck to ensure the safety and security of all participants and spectators during our annual Town of Centerville Holiday Parade, which will take place on tomorrow, Friday the 3rd. The parade will begin promptly at 6:30 p.m., and the parade route and road closures have been posted on the Centerville Police Department Facebook page. I do want to thank the Department of Natural Resources Police, Maryland State Police, and the Office of the Sheriff of Queen Anne's County for their assistance in keeping everyone at the parade safe. Without them, we would not be as successful as we've been in years past and this year as well. So we are grateful for their assistance in helping us throughout these events in town. We ask the public to please be patient with us at the conclusion of the parade, and we will work diligently to ensure that everyone arrives home safely. That's our #1 goal this year. Today, the police department launched the Holiday Awareness Campaign, and our focus throughout the holiday season will be based on prevention and proactive messages in crime prevention. So we're going to channel some ideas through our social media outlets to include prevention of telephone and internet scams, removing valuables from your vehicles when you're shopping, and package delivery thefts. There'll be a few tips which will be provided through our Facebook page. And finally, the speed trailer was redeployed today around 2 p.m. to Little Kidwell Avenue and Bristol Lane, which we hope will give us a better understanding of some of the traffic habits along that section of roadway. And then the downtime that I had prior to taking this chair, I've received the following speed alerts since it was deployed at 2 p.m. This just kind of gives you an idea again of what's going on out there in just such a short period of time. That's a 25 mile per hour speed zone. We actually set that device to trigger an alert at 5 miles per hour over the speed limit. We've had 4 vehicles that have gone above 6 miles per hour over the speed limit, which is 31 miles per hour. 1 at 5 over, 2 at 7 over, and 1 at 9 miles per hour over. Since just 2 p.m., there's been approximately 218 vehicles that have passed through with an average speed of 16.2 miles per hour. 50.7% of the vehicles showed a decrease in speed based on the initial speed captured, and a decrease in speed once the sign detected, or once the operator detected that there was a speed sign there. So just a testament again to the kind of the efficiency that this trailer has to offer. And I think moving forward, hopefully it'll give council a better understanding of, again, some of the traffic behaviors and driving habits along that section of roadway. So happy to be a part of that. And at the next meeting, I will present you each with the November overview from the Centerville Police Department.
I think that trailer has been amazing, Joe, and I just want to say that.
Extremely.
Okay, go ahead.
I just want to thank you for getting it deployed out there. Some, citizen concerns, and I do live on Green Street in that neighborhood. Would love to see the total data when it's done, and then would also like to know from you the feasibility of a speed camera in that corridor if we find that the data continues to track what the last 6 hours have shown, that they're 9 miles over in a residential neighborhood is jarring to me.
So when we deployed, Corporal LaBelle and I went out and deployed the trailer, and so I felt very uncomfortable when we set the trailer up. I said, okay, well, I'm going to test it to ensure that it's operating correctly. And so I got in my vehicle and went to the stop sign. And I felt like I really had to put my foot on the gas pedal to get up to 25 miles per hour just to get registered. So this afternoon, when I start to see these text alerts come in saying, hey, somebody just went through at 9 miles over the speed limit, I know how it made me feel, how uncomfortable it made me feel, especially considering 2:30 to 6:30 in the evening, the number of pedestrians in close proximity to those homes is very concerning. So if, in fact, we do see these type of statistics increase, not only would, I think, council consider us doing, starting the research project and the application process to have that speed camera deployed there, but also we're going to get some uniforms and some police cars out there and take some enforcement action.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And then just one more thing related to the Little Kidwell driving situation. In the mornings and in the afternoons when the Kennard pickup and drop off is happening, parents go through I think, is that Brown Street right there?
Yes, Brown Street.
Go through Brown Street and just take up that whole intersection and create an extremely unsafe situation. So as you can imagine, when someone's flying 9 miles over through that intersection and the intersection's blocked up by cars. So I don't know what can be done in terms of police resources or meeting with Kennard, but it just becomes an extremely unsafe street where you have a ton of pedestrians and a lack of sidewalk on the one side. So I just remain concerned about the traffic problems on Little Kidwell.
And then I just wanted to add as a parallel issue, I was going to mention this during my comments and during the roundtable, but since it's related, we did have a question on Facebook asking if a traffic study had been done for the YMCA. And in my conversation with Chip, a formal one has not been done per se. However, with the deployment of this device and continuing to track that data, it sort of lays the foundation for us to get information from the Easton Wine maybe on what they've experienced and things they've done to mitigate. And, you know, Chip and the chief, I think you feel the same way. We have to be real careful that our community understands that while there will be an impact in and around the YMCA, the answer of we're going to be able to just maintain what your traffic patterns were before at the expense of other streets that are already congested and highly trafficked. You know, there's got to be an equitable way to do that. So, you know, there's going to be some pain points, but hopefully with the data, you know, we can manage that well.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, you know, speaking just as one person in that community, to me, the traffic volume is less of the concern. It's the traffic behavior. And so I'm concerned that when that opens for the Y, the ability to fly from that end of town out through Vincent Street to 301 is only going to increase
I think you're right.
the driving behavior issue. So to me, it's not the volume. The volume's going to increase with the Y. It's how those drivers behave.
To what Eric said, Traffic Concepts Incorporated did a traffic study in 2014, 2015 when they were looking at a government building out there. So it looks at the volume, but you're also looking at the volume of, if you will, a 9 to 5 business with a morning rush hour and evening rush hour, incorporating traffic to the schools in the area, but not something like a Y, which is open into the evening and has an asymmetrical traffic pattern, if you will. So.
And I think we need to consider the impact on police that the Y is going to have beyond traffic. And we had talked about that briefly before, Chief, just the number of calls that Easton Police experience with the Y, I think beyond the traffic control is going to be really being thoughtful about how our police have to staff that whole corridor.
Here. And then I just had a final question, and that is, we know it would be inappropriate to ask what measures you're taking, but for those at home that may have concerns based on recent events that we all hope and pray are isolated with other community parades, Christmas parades, holiday parades, what would you say to somebody at home right now watching that is concerned about whether this parade is protected per se?
We are, so we've held several meetings over the last probably 10 days to discuss some strategies that we'll have in place, some additional security measures that we'll have in place that will hopefully be undetected by the public and will cause no interruption to the festivities. The participants in this parade and the spectators are in very capable hands, and we will do everything in our power and control to make sure that everyone remains safe throughout this holiday season.
Here. I'm convinced.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Town Attorney?
Just very quickly to follow up on the Carter Farm discussion, I believe tomorrow the Planning Commission packets are going to go out. In those packets, Chris Jakubiak, the planning consultant, prepared a very detailed 12-page memo that will be in there, and it'll be very helpful, I think, for all of you as well. Even though it's tailored to the Planning Commission's role, the standards are very similar to what you all will be looking at when it comes to you. Also attached to that is a chart that I had prepared back at the beginning of this, kind of all these different processes and how they all might flow together. So that I think will also be helpful. And then I'm going to prepare a memo that's a little bit more tailored to you all and what your role is going to be, because it is a little bit different than the Planning Commission in terms of how you're going to conduct your hearings and things like that. So I just wanted to give you a heads up to look for that in the Planning Commission packet, those two things, and then also I'll follow up with a memo as well.
The table that you mentioned, is it color shaded based on responsibility? Did I?
No, that's,
Thinking of
the
something else.
developer prepared one like that.
Okay, so I think it did end up going out today, and so it's a horrendous amount of information. I don't mean that to be
Yeah.
negative. So it's a lot to get through, but I had a chance to get through about half of it, and there's a lot of really good information, so I'm glad you.
Yep.
And the memo is not out yet. The planning commission packet is out, but the memo will be out tomorrow. When
Right.
Chris has got to make a few little changes, and then he'll send it to us tomorrow.
And his memo is very easy to read, and it kind of pulls parts together. It'll help you a lot digest what the massive information that developers, had to submit for their application is very overwhelming, and it kind of parses through and picks out some parts of it to explain it, so it's helpful.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Kip, Public Works? Town Clerk?
I do have just a couple things. So as the chief talked about, we do have the parade tomorrow. So we are looking forward to a great parade. Our theme is a gingerbread house Christmas, so I'm looking forward to seeing what kind of floats we get that come through there. We are actually down about 10 to 15 floats that we normally have, so I don't know if it was the theme or people are just like, I'm not ready to get back out there yet, maybe, I don't know. But, so we're looking forward to tomorrow night. Last night was the tree lighting ceremony. It was a great event. I was really happy. We usually plan for 50. We estimated over 300 last night, so it was really good. Also, just really quick, and I don't actually know if you want it, or you want me, I was just going to talk about where we met last council meeting. You approved the purchase of the picnic pavilions that we put forth with the grant. So we did meet with the contractor this week. So we'll be getting started on that. I'm really excited about that. And that's all I have.
You can tell people you're going to be live on all the QACTV social media this morning.
Oh, awesome.
The parade is going to be live on social media tomorrow.
QACTV.
QACTV Facebook page, but don't let that keep you from coming out and watching it live, right? Thank you.
Can we go back to the public work?
We can go back to Public Works, yes.
The shed work, has it started yet?
We've been waiting on it. Sorry, no, we've been waiting on a permit from the county.
Okay.
That's what's been the holdup so far. We hope to see it very soon.
Okay.
It should have gone through its last needed approval this week. So,
Okay.
they are planning to start down at the wharf with the repairs to the wharf warehouse building, maybe as early as tomorrow.
That was my next question.
And from their demolition crew is going to move from there to the farm.
Okay.
So it's in the works.
All right, thank you.
Thanks,
And I
Kim.
just have one more thing to thank the police department and Public Works for all their help with this parade, because it's a huge deal. It's more of a burden, I think, for them than it is for me. I'm just behind the desk and talking to people, but they do a lot to help put this together. So.
Thank you.
We'll go into our second citizens forum. Any citizens wishing to make comment? Let the record show that there are no citizens requesting to make comment. Move into council roundtable. We'll start with Councilmember Kaiser.
Thank you. I'll just want to thank all the town staff and volunteers for all that you did to make the tree lighting such a big success. That was a lot of fun last night, and really looking forward to the parade. I don't think there's any better time to live in Centerville than at the holidays. So appreciate all the hard work that goes into making the town look so beautiful. And then just tomorrow during the parade, we will have food trucks out on Broadway. And that was something we had heard, that it's tough to get food in town during the parade. It's so busy down here. So there'll be some additional options. And I just look forward to seeing so many members of our community out. That's all I got.
Councilmember Johnson.
So I just want to echo those same sentiments, and with a question to our town clerk, how many years have you been at the helm for the parade?
This will be my
Sorry.
No, I've been here 10 and a half years, so I don't know, I guess 10 years, yeah.
So
10
as
years.
wonderful as you are as a good leader and giving credit where credit is appropriately due, I think, we need to say thank you to you for a decade or more of service. Every parade I've ever seen has just been phenomenally executed, so thank you.
Well, and I think I can say also the actual parade itself, the heart of it is Wendy Martin, who does our lineup and is in charge at the high school. So she really does have a hard job out there.
And she'll keep you straight too.
Yes, she keeps you straight as well. So every year she's always frantic that I'm not going to let her do it. And I said, I never want to do that job, so you're never going to get fired from doing that job. And she does a wonderful job. It's not, we just don't let people line up, and she's got
There's a science and an art to it.
there's a science to it that she has each year.
So, and I have 3 more quick things. I've talked a lot tonight, so I'm going to talk fast. December 14th, there's a Facebook event right now that's been posted. It's listed as a Centerville Pride Committee meeting. That was the suggestion of Joe Brown when we had an economic development sort of town hall-like meeting, a visioning session at Symphony Village. For obvious reasons, the whole term pride has a deeper meaning in certain communities, and so we don't want to steal from that and be inappropriate in that. So we're going to work to change a name to it to something like the Town Beautification Committee. But this has been encouraged in response to, for those of you that are on social media, we've had what I will call very hearty traffic, both favorable and critical of the town's Christmas decorations, holiday decorations. And so the thought that I put out there was if we were to suddenly allocate even a couple $1,000s for decorations, we would be crucified with half of our electorate. And if we do nothing in light of the social media posts, people are going to continue to be critical. So a suggestion that myself and several others have made was, you know what, let's take Joe Brown's suggestion, have some sort of beautification group that can raise money privately, work in concert with folks like Public Works to say, you know what, if we were to raise 10 grand for XYZ decorations, is that something that can actually be supported so they're not just buying stuff that we can't do or creating an undue burden on our departments. But this group is also in a position to put some pressure on some of our local business owners. We have a mill at one end of our town that has looked the same since I was 14 years old. In terms of any kind of improvements that have been made to the exterior. And so this is a group that can start to sort of draw attention in a private way and let our citizenry help speak up and support us in some of the concerns that we have, and also raise some money for initiatives that are no longer appropriate maybe for taxpayer funding, that kind of thing. So there's that, and then I did send an email prior to this meeting, didn't bring it up earlier just because this is something we can do outside the meeting, and for the same reasons our chief didn't go into details on what they're doing to further protect the parade. There are some things that we need to do in terms of asset protection for our critical infrastructure, and if we are going to add millions of dollars in value to our wastewater treatment facilities, I'm interested in seeing a self-assessment done on kind of where we stand with some industry standards for that. So we'll talk more about that outside the meeting, but I know I sent that to Chip, or I just called you Chip. Kip, I think you're the only one I didn't get to talk to ahead of time, but I mentioned it to Chip and the chief, so we'll talk about that. And then just for everyone's situational awareness, there was also a Facebook question about sidewalks around and at Tillman Terrace. Some of the residents there, I guess, that use motorized wheelchairs have some safety concerns, and I guess there's been some issues. So worked with Chip, got a nice answer that I was able to relay on social media. So that's all I have. I'll shut up.
Councilmember Ann and I.
Well, I'm going to echo all the thanks again. Thanks to town hall staff, public works, police department, all the volunteers who are actually making the floats for tomorrow night. I mean, just after tonight's meeting too, I'm just so excited to see everything tomorrow. It is really going to be a fantastic evening, and like Ashley said, it's the best time to live in Centerville. So thanks to everyone for that. And then I just wanted to ask Carolyn, do we know the location for the volunteers dinner in January?
Typically it's at the American Legion.
Have we confirmed any of that?
No, not
Okay.
yet.
Just curious.
Not yet. Nope, haven't started on that one yet.
We'll get through this week. Okay. That's okay. Thank you.
When is the Goodwill's dinner?
Goodwill, what dinner? Awards banquet?
Yes,
The
second Saturday?
Yes. Second Saturday in January.
January, okay.
Yes.
We always try and make sure it's not that same night because the council also gets invited to that,
Yes.
so.
And is the holiday breakfast coming up?
Yes, I actually had that on my list and I didn't talk about it. So the employee breakfast that the council approved in November is next Friday. We have it scheduled to be at the wharf and to be catered. That location, which I haven't even told anybody yet, may change a little bit. Still in town, but it may not be at the wharf because the restaurant who's going to do it for us, it's easier for them to do it at their restaurant. So we're probably going to change that up a little bit. But
Okay.
council is obviously all invited, and as many employees as we can get there that morning will be there.
Wonderful. Okay, thank you.
Council Vice President Keel.
I also want to thank all the volunteers and the staff for all the work they did in the town to make it look good, because it looks good, because I'm all about Christmas decorations.
Clearly.
That's my favorite holiday, Christmas, so. I also had a citizen call me about the comp plan, and he was concerned, so I'm gonna call him either tomorrow or one day next week before my surgery. Hopefully, and talking about the town, about the beautification. Have you looked at the building at the water, your old building? How much work they've done to it? Like they're doing, yes, they're actually I think they're finishing up the front of it now. They've been
And if you guys, I'm sure you all, when you approved the checks that went through last week, we paid $15,000 towards that
Yeah,
in the facade improvement. So that was
Yeah.
in the check run this week, so.
yep. And the last thing, Whedon Street. I go down Whedon Street every once in a while and check the work, because that's what I like. But, yes, they're doing a good job on it. Hopefully it'll be done before the end of the year. Hopefully,
They guaranteed us that it'll be done before the blacktop.
before the plant closes now, right?
Christmas.
Yep. Yeah. So I know they got one side of the sidewalk done. They're working. Haven't seen them rip it all the other side out yet, but I know they were working, grading the roadway and stuff like that. But, yep. That's the only thing I had.
Well, I'll echo the sentiments of thanks to the town volunteers and staff for all their work. I will also say, in terms of beautification committees, I'm all for private citizens doing more to help out the way the town looks. I also feel like I'd be remiss, because my wife was one of the people that volunteered to decorate the town. If you're willing to serve on the beautification committee, you ought to come out and volunteer to make the town a better place. Very easy to be negative about the state of the town. But it's time to put sort of your shoulder to the wheel, as it were, in my view. And I'll also apologize to everybody watching this meeting on television for the sweaters you've had to endure during this time, seated on either side of me. With that, we will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
All right, meeting adjourned.